Pilot Talk from whatever platform you're watching today. Please remember to like, share, comment on this page before you leave. And for those who have been sending us comments, both positive, negative, and constructive, as long as it's not from a place of hate, it's fine. If you're just joining us for the first time, on Pilot Talk, we try to analyze and discuss socio-political issues and events as they affect Nigeria. So today, we're talking about the indictment of the CEO of Airpeace in person of Ifechukwu Onyema by the U.S. Department of Justice for $20 million bank fraud. Personally, do you not think Nigeria's reputation has suffered a lot this year already? And you just want the year to be over? So this year, we've seen the arrest of Obinwane Okeke in August for a scam of about $11 million. We've heard about the indictment of the 80 by the American, the same month, mostly Nigerians. Then last month, we had the case of Ismaila Mustafa, popularly known as EFCC, based on the intelligence of EFCC and the FBI, as a significant person of interest in business economic compromise fraud. And now, we have a warrant of arrest for Onyema. The links for the previous post about the other ones, they will be in the description below. But needless to say, these are definitely trying times for Nigerians, especially the Nigerians living in diaspora, from the identity and reputation point of view, if you like. But what makes this one different from the ones we've talked about in the person of Okeke and others is the fact that Onyema has sort of become a national hero overnight. When he offered to airlift Nigerian stock in South Africa during this xenophobic attack in September, he announced that he was going to airlift 600 Nigerians back to their families in Nigeria, which many thought at the time was the responsibility of federal government, mine included. Eventually, I'm not sure if he actually airlifted 600 people, but I know for a fact that a lot of Nigerians who they are coming back to Nigeria from South Africa to Onyema. Some even suggested Onyema for national honor for his role in the return of many Nigerians to their families in Nigeria from South Africa. According to the press release on the U.S. Department of Justice, Onyema has been charged with bank fraud and money laundering for moving more than $20 million from Nigeria through United States bank accounts in scheme involving false documents based on the purchase of airplanes. So alongside charged with Onyema, Chief of Administration and Finance, Ejiro Gene Egaga. I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly. So, but how did this happen? Because this is someone who a lot of Nigerians have come to revere in the last couple of years, given the rise and the social responsibilities taken on in Nigeria. So, among the indictments was document falsification, identity theft, bank fraud, and money laundering. So he was accused of using his prominence as a business leader, airline executive, to fiscal malfeasance. So from the indictment, it was the majority of the money in question flow. As for he got the money, I can't say, or we can't say at the moment. So I apparently started transferring the money in 2010, and between 2010 and 2018 was said to have transferred over $44 million through loose form or loose means to America. So he started his airline in 2013, but from the indictment, the transfer funds actually started well before that in 2010. It was alleged to have used at least 4 of the charities and businesses he owned to mask the scheme. And these charities have nothing to do with the aviation sector. So some of them are the Foundation for Ethnic Harmony, International Center for Nonviolence and Peace Development, the All Time Peace Media Communications Limited, and Every Child Limited. it was alleged in the indictment that he spent or he used $3 million from these organizations for the procurement of the first set of aircraft he acquired for airpeace. airpeace. The crux of this indictment is the fact that Onyema used series of letters of credits from banks to transfer funds to various businesses and private accounts he had in United States, in Atlanta in particular. So the letters of credit were to purchase aircraft from a company named Springfield Aviation, which happens to be owned by Onyema, the CEO of Airpeace himself. So it's like he's issuing letter of credit that he wants to buy something from another company of his. At the time, Springfield Aviation was said to not that they didn't have any aircraft, and even the person managing the company knows nothing about aviation. I don't think that's really a big issue, but the fact that you claim you want to buy aircraft from this company that has no aircraft at all, and Igaga was alleged to have instructed the manager of the Springfield Aviation to sign the falsified documents in furtherance of the fraud. Why it is important to presume innocence of the CEO of Airpeace at this stage, and I really want this to be a case where United States is wrong and is innocent, but if he isn't, the facts have been brought to bear are quite pretty damning. Not so much is known of this man until the last decade when he launched the Airpeace. Yeah, I'm sure it's the man, and the media was awash by the fact that this Airpeace was technically owned by the wife of the former president, Patience Jonathan, which turned out to be untrue anyway, because he claimed that in an interview he did with City People, that he owned 100% of Airpeace and is a trained lawyer and a real estate developer. And he said he's been frustrated about the fact that everyone claimed that Patience Jonathan owns part of Airpeace. So he claimed he's made it in the real estate in the early 90s, and he has also stated before that the sole purpose of setting up Airpeace is to empower people and create jobs for Nigerians. So, like I've mentioned earlier, he's got a lot of praises recently for his business corporate social responsibility from a lot of people out there. This whole indictment has come with mixed feelings for me. On one side, there is this man that we've all come to admire because of his actions and perceived patriotism, however you want to look at it, in recent times. And there's this other side where you could feel a sense of betrayal by some other Nigerians, or disappointment, if you like, of this man we've all been praising the last few months for his heroism. And the United States Department of Justice must just have been looking at us like fools, like, okay, well, what are they doing? Because I'm sure this investigation must have been on for a long time. Another thing that actually sticks to my throat is the fact that if it was EFCC that decided to arraign Onyema, the media and the cyberspace will be awash with all sort of innuendos about not because there isn't a case to pursue there or a pure political motivation, but the public has grown to distrust our own law enforcement agencies. Case in point, the DSS and the EFCC in recent times. Everyone knows there's no smoke without fire. And a large number of cases dealt with by EFCC, there's often prima facie case to start with, but, to say the least, but mismanagements, sensationalization, political and ethnic colorations will not let them see road. So from the release this was obviously a multi-agency operation, because obviously the IRS was involved, the DEA was a drug and law enforcement agency was involved in America, and they've managed to keep this under wrap. Something of this significance, or against a person of a significant business profile, it makes me wonder whether the Nigerian government knows about this via the DSS, SSS, or EFCC before, because if they did, it does not all go well. The taint of allegation when he's been in romance with the government or the federal government in the aftermath of this xenophobic attack in South Africa. What he did at the time was laudable, but it's also important that a government that knows that something like this could potentially come to bear would at least try to maintain some sort of independence, if you like, to not like profit from the poisonous tree, as the case may be. If they knew and they just took advantage of the situation, it is shameful and irresponsible, because the airlifting of Nigerians in South Africa shouldn't really be the responsibility of any private organizations. And pardon me that we're going back to that now, 3 months after. I said it then, and I still believe that it should solely have been the responsibility of the Nigerian government. Another thing I'm looking at is, if it turns out that Nigeria law enforcement or Nigerian government didn't know, we're not in the loop, it says a lot about what the United States intelligence agency think of us in that light. Maybe they think he's a politically exposed person. I'm going to ask though, as a matter of concern, what do you think we need to do as a nation to address this continuous reputational wreck and onslaught on the identity of Nigeria internationally at the moment? Because at the moment we can't seem to catch a break. We can be pig-headed about it and say it's just a few bad eggs, and mind you, I'm not saying Alan Onyema is a bad egg in this case, but once you keep ringing the same bell at the same time, then it starts resonating with people. Few bad eggs destroy the bunch. Instead of our lawmakers to be focused on this spate of occurrences as a matter of concern and make laws and policies to further improve the development and growth of businesses in Nigeria, a more responsible and transparent corporate governance for companies, focus on the revenue collection improvements in taxes, as I've always maintained. A robust tax system will definitely reduce economic crime. In few cases we've had of the Obiwane, Monfa, there have been cases of frauds, email scams, and what have you. There has been one thing constant, and it's the illusion of sustainable and above board businesses run by these people. Obiwane had the Invictus Group. It was on Forbes possible millionaires under 30. Monfa had the Bureau de Change company. Onyema had Airpiece. It is not to say I'm putting all this in the same basket, but it just shows that okay, there has to be some level of integrity where when these things come up, we can hold our own and say to an extent we know that the mechanisms are in place, and we can vouch for things and not just on pure sentiment of where this person is from or who this person is. Maybe it's high time we think or we rethink our policy directions on corporate governance, tax, and money laundering as a way to manage and limit, limits and maybe ultimately start repairing the constant assassination of the reputation of about 200 million people. And maybe as a character or reputation assassination at the moment is rightly so. So it is not enough to just fold our hands and dissociate ourselves when things like this break, as it is the case with the leaders in our country at the moment. But the question is, who are we asking to do this? So the same legislators who feel it's okay to continue to take money for constituency projects when their job is solely to make laws and not to execute projects. It leaves a lot to be desired. We're focusing our energies on the wrong thing. The same people who feel it's okay to focus their energy on killing people for hate speeches as opposed to progressive approach of promoting or inclusiveness, or maybe facing out death penalty, if you like, as it is done in other countries of the world. The same people who feel that people should be jailed for up to 3 years for misinformation on social media, and the sponsor of this bill, when asked to react to public outcry, the only reference he could come up with was the rumor peddled about a couple of months ago about the president taking on his second wife. And I asked myself, is that a justification why that law is needed? So sometimes you just wonder what goes on in these people's mind, or whether they're actually deep enough to think about what laws they're trying to make on behalf of Nigerians. So it's just imperative that we kind of recalibrate our moral compass, honestly, as a people. We focus too much on the wrong things. It's just a case of repeated misplaced priority for Nigerians. So today, I think the Punch newspaper had an interview with Onyema and claimed his innocence, as you would expect, and he said his lawyers are dealing with it. And I'm also aware that a warrant of arrest was served on the law enforcement agency in Nigeria towards the end of last week, and based on the arrangement between Nigeria and the United States government, asked to go back to the United States to answer the allegations put forward against him. But in the interim, his assets have been frozen in the United States until he answers for the case, and he might ultimately forfeit the funds if he's found guilty, or if he's found not to be innocent. To conclude, it's really a sad day when news like this break, but also I wish the CEO of Airpeace the best of luck if he's innocent. I don't think the goodness of a person should be clouded our sense of judgment, but it's an allegation. He has the right to be heard too. So, but as a people, we need to reflect when things like this break, regardless of what side the chip falls, that we need attitudinal change as people to hold ourselves accountable. To hold ourselves accountable, and it does not matter if the undue advantage your neighbor has is not directly at your expense. Obviously, the reason why it's undue is at someone else's expense. Think you don't feel the pinch? Ask the people in diaspora of these repeated news going around. It affects Nigerians trying to set up businesses, and some Nigerians that just need investors' confidence to believe in them, that they have genuine intention to do business. Just remember to share, like, comment, subscribe, tell us what you think. Give me some information about Onyema that I don't know. Maybe I'll learn one or two things from your point of view as well, and to help inform ourselves better. That's the whole point of this show. It's not media or government bias. It's just my opinion, and my opinion only. I'll leave us with the words of Benjamin Franklin today. And Benjamin Franklin said, it takes many good deeds to build a good reputation, but it only takes one to lose it. Have a good day.